The more you chase her, the faster she runs. The less you care, the more she craves you. This isn't some modern dating hack. This is ancient wisdom discovered over 2,000 years ago by the most powerful men who ever lived. Men who had empires at their feet, yet understood attraction better than any pickup artist ever will. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man alive. Emperor of Rome. He could have had any woman he wanted with a snap of his fingers. But here's what's fascinating. He wrote obsessively about self-control, about mastering his own mind, about caring less about what others thought. And women were drawn to him like a force of nature. There's a secret here, a paradox that most men will never understand. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why everything you've been doing to attract women has been pushing them away. And more importantly, you'll discover what to do instead. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. This is about becoming a different kind of man. The kind women can't help but obsess over. Most men will never learn this. They'll spend their entire lives confused, frustrated, wondering why nice guys finish last. You're about to become the exception. So let's dive into the ancient philosophy that changes everything. Right now, there's a crisis happening. Modern men are more confused about attraction than ever before. You see it everywhere. Guys constantly checking their phones, hoping she texted back. Overanalyzing every conversation. Trying desperately to say the right thing, wear the right clothes, impress her with the perfect date. You've probably been there. You meet someone you really like. The conversation flows. You think, there's a connection. Then you text her, and you wait. Minutes turn into hours. Hours turn into days. That sinking feeling in your stomach. Did I say something wrong? Should I text again? Maybe she didn't see it, so you send another message. Something casual, trying not to seem desperate. Still nothing. Now you're spiraling. You're checking Instagram to see if she's active. You're asking your friends what you should do. You're replaying every moment of your interaction, trying to find where it went wrong. Here's what's devastating. You did everything right according to modern dating advice. You were nice. You showed interest. You complimented her. You made your intentions clear. You were respectful, attentive, available. Everything society tells you women want. But something feels terribly wrong, because despite doing everything right, you're not getting the results. The women you really want seem uninterested. The ones you treat best seem to care the least. Meanwhile, you watch other guys who seem to care less, guys who put in less effort. Somehow they're the ones these women chase. This confusion is eating you alive. And here's what no one tells you. It's not your fault. You've been lied to. Because attraction doesn't work the way you've been taught. In fact, attraction works backwards. 2,000 years ago, the ancient Stoics discovered something profound about human nature, something that explains everything. But before I reveal exactly what it is and how to use it, you need to understand the foundation. You need to understand why most men fail before they even begin. His name was Epictetus, born a slave in ancient Rome. He had nothing, no power, no status, no freedom. Yet this man became one of the greatest teachers in history. Rome's most powerful men traveled across the empire just to hear him speak. Why? Because he discovered something that changed everything. Epictetus taught what's called the dichotomy of control. It's simple but earth-shattering. There are things you control and things you don't control. That's it. Your thoughts, your actions, your character. These you control completely. Everything else, her response, her feelings, whether she texts back, whether she likes you control none of it. Here's where it gets interesting. Most men live their entire lives focused on what they can't control. You're trying to control her reaction. You're trying to make her like you. You're trying to force an outcome, and in doing so, you're giving away all your power. Think about what happens when you send that text and wait desperately for a reply. You've just handed your emotional state to another person. Your happiness now depends on whether she responds. You're not in control anymore. She is. And women can feel this. It's like a sixth sense. They detect neediness the way sharks detect blood in water. Now let me tell you about Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth. He could have had any woman just by commanding it. But here's what he wrote in his private journal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Emperor of Rome, with infinite power over the external world, spent his time mastering his internal world. That's the secret. He understood that real power isn't controlling others, it's controlling yourself. And this is what made him magnetic. This is what made him irresistible. When you stop needing her validation, when you stop trying to control her response, when you become truly indifferent to the outcome, something shifts. You become magnetic, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you genuinely don't need her approval to feel good about yourself. Women are biologically wired to detect this. For thousands of years, they've had to evaluate men quickly. Is this man confident? Is he secure? Or is he desperate? Every time you text hoping for a response, every time you try too hard to impress, every time you change yourself to please her, you're broadcasting a signal. And that signal says, I need your validation to feel worthy. That's the attraction killer. Not your looks, not your money, your need, your desperation, your inability to be okay without her approval. And this is where the transformation begins. Master your emotions first. Everything else follows. Now let me show you how this actually works. The first law of Stoic attraction: become indifferent to outcome. This sounds counterintuitive. How can not caring make her care more? But this is the genius of it. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about attachment and loss. He said the wise man prepares for loss before it happens, not because he's pessimistic, but because he's free. When you're not attached to an outcome, you can't be hurt by it, and that freedom is intoxicating to watch. Picture this. You meet an attractive woman. The old you would immediately start calculating. How do I get her number? What do I say to impress her? How do I make her like me? Your entire focus is on an outcome you can't control. You're already desperate before you even speak. The Stoic approach is completely different. You talk to her because the conversation itself is interesting, not because you need something from her. If she's into it, great. If not, also great. Either way, your value doesn't change. You're outcome independent. Here's what happens in her mind. She's used to men who want something from her, men whose entire demeanor changes based on her responses, men who are performing for her approval. Then she meets you, and you're different. You're present, engaged, interesting, but you're not auditioning. You're not trying to win her over, you're just being. This creates a question in her mind. Why isn't he trying to impress me? Most men she meets are so eager to please, but you're not. This makes you rare. This makes you interesting. This makes her want to know more. The mistake most men make is investing too early. You have one good conversation and you're already planning the wedding. You create an imaginary relationship in your head. Then when reality doesn't match your fantasy, you're devastated. You feel rejected, hurt, angry. The Stoic fix is simple. Treat every interaction as complete in itself. That conversation was good because the conversation was good, not because of where it might lead, not because of what you might get from it. The interaction had value in itself. When you adopt this mindset, the power dynamic shifts completely. She goes from being your goal to being your guest. You're not trying to win her. You're evaluating whether she adds value to your already complete life. You're the prize being pursued, not the pursuer hoping to be chosen. And women feel this shift. It's magnetic. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free, brave enough to not need her, free from the outcome." And that freedom is what makes you irresistible. But here's where most men still get it wrong. Even when they understand not being needy, they're still making a critical error. They make the woman their purpose. Everything revolves around getting her, keeping her, pleasing her. This is still weakness in disguise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that obstacles, challenges, rejection, these aren't problems. They're the path forward. They make you stronger. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Your life purpose comes first. Your mission, your goals, your growth, your excellence. She's not the goal. She's a complement to an already extraordinary life. Not the missing piece that makes you whole. You're already whole. Think about the men that women can't resist. Not the guys trying hardest to get them, but the men who are so focused on their purpose that women have to work to get their attention. The athlete focused on his training. The entrepreneur building his business. The artist lost in his craft. These men aren't ignoring women to play games. They genuinely have something more important, and this creates a powerful dynamic. While you're building, she's watching. She sees a man who doesn't need her validation because he's getting validation from his accomplishments. She sees a man who doesn't have time to play texting games because he's too busy creating something meaningful. She sees a man who can't be manipulated because his worth isn't tied to her opinion. This is what excellence looks like. Physical excellence. You're training your body not to impress her, but because you respect yourself. Mental excellence. You're reading, learning, growing because mediocrity is unacceptable to you. Spiritual excellence. You're developing your character because that's what defines a man. Professional excellence. You're building something meaningful because that's your contribution to the world. Stop performing for her. Start performing for yourself. The paradox is this. Self-focus creates other attraction. When you become obsessed with your own growth, others become obsessed with you. Marcus Aurelius said it perfectly. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Stop theorizing about attraction. Stop reading advice on what women want. Become the man who is so excellent that the question answers itself. Become undeniable. Now let me clear up a massive misconception. Stoic doesn't mean emotionless. This is where most men get confused and end up looking like robots. The Stoics weren't advocating for suppressing emotions. They were teaching controlled emotion. And there's a world of difference. Marcus Aurelius loved his wife deeply. Seneca wrote beautiful letters about affection and care. Epictetus taught his students about proper love and attachment. These weren't cold men. They were men who chose when and how to express emotion. They weren't controlled by their feelings. They controlled their feelings. Here's the distinction that matters. Reactive emotions versus intentional presence. Reactive is when she doesn't text back and you spiral into anxiety. When she talks to another guy and you become jealous. When things don't go your way and you become angry or bitter. These are emotions controlling you. Intentional presence is completely different. You feel emotions, you acknowledge them, but you choose your response. She doesn't text back. You notice disappointment, but you don't let it dictate your actions. You go back to your purpose. She talks to another guy. You feel a twinge of jealousy, but you recognize you don't own her. She's free to talk to whoever she wants. Things don't go your way. You feel frustration. But you see it as information, not catastrophe. This is what women crave. Not a man with no emotions, but a man who isn't controlled by his emotions. In a world of chaos, reactive men and emotional instability, a man who remains centered is like an anchor. She can feel safe with you. She knows you won't fall apart when things get difficult. She knows you won't become desperate or possessive or volatile. Think about body language. The Stoic carries himself differently. There's no nervous energy, no fidgeting, no seeking approval with his posture. He stands tall not because he's trying to appear confident, but because he is confident. His movements are deliberate. His eye contact is steady. His presence commands respect without demanding it, and when he speaks, he says less but means more. No rambling to fill silence, no over-explaining to justify himself, no supplicating to win approval. He speaks with intention. Every word carries weight. He doesn't need to convince you of anything. He's stating reality. Marcus Aurelius gave us the framework. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Applied to attraction, don't mirror desperate behavior. Don't become reactive because someone else is. Don't lose your center because the world around you is chaotic. Maintain your stoic presence. That's your power. Now comes the ultimate test, the moment that separates stoic men from everyone else. How you handle rejection. Because rejection will come. It comes for everyone. The question is, what do you do with it? Epictetus taught something profound. External events have no power over your character. Only your response has power. She can reject you. She can ignore you. She can choose someone else. None of that changes who you are. None of that diminishes your value. Only you can do that with your reaction. Here's where most men reveal their desperation. She says no, and they crumble, or they get angry, or they try to convince her, or they ask what's wrong with them. All of these responses communicate the same thing. My worth was dependent on your acceptance, and now I'm destroyed. The Stoic response is radically different. Complete indifference, not fake indifference, where you're seething inside, real indifference. She said no. Okay, that's information. That's her preference. It has nothing to do with your value. You smile, you wish her well, you move on with your life exactly as you would have anyway. This creates something fascinating in her psychology. She expected an emotional reaction. All men react. They get sad or angry or try to change her mind. But you didn't. You were completely unfazed. This doesn't compute for her. Who is this guy? Why didn't my rejection hurt him? Why doesn't he seem to care? Now she's thinking about you. Not because you played a game, but because you revealed something rare. You're a man whose value isn't determined by her opinion. You're a man who can't be hurt by her choices. You're a man who is genuinely outcome independent, and this is magnetic. Epictetus said it perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. She rejects you. That's what happened. How you react determines everything. React with neediness, you confirm her decision. React with anger, you prove you were never worthy. React with indifference, you make her question her decision. But here's the most important part. This isn't a strategy to win her back. This is who you actually become. You genuinely don't need her acceptance because your worth comes from within. You're not pretending not to care. You actually don't care in a healthy way, because you know your value is inherent, not assigned by others. This is Stoic confidence, unshakable, not because nothing bad can happen, but because you know you'll be fine regardless of what happens. This is the foundation of real attraction. So what does all this look like in real life? Let me paint you a picture. You meet a woman, you have a great conversation, you're present, engaged, genuinely interested in what she's saying. But you're not performing. You're not trying to impress her. You're just being the excellent man you've become. You get her number. You text her once. Something simple, direct, no games. If she responds, great. If not, also great. You don't check your phone every 5 minutes. You don't analyze her response. Time. You're too busy with your purpose to obsess. You ask her out. One time. Clear, confident, specific. Let's grab coffee Thursday at 7. If she says yes, perfect. If she says no or gives a maybe, you wish her well and move on. No convincing, no negotiating, no rescheduling 3 times. You made an offer. She can accept or decline. Her choice doesn't affect your life trajectory. On the date, you're not interviewing her for the position of girlfriend. You're evaluating if she adds value to your already complete life. You're not trying to win her over. She's trying to win you over. The power dynamic is reversed. If she likes you, excellent. If she doesn't, also excellent. Either way, you go back to your life, back to your purpose, back to your excellence. She's a potential addition, not the foundation. If a relationship develops, it's built on something solid, not neediness, not desperation, not fear of being alone, but genuine appreciation between 2 whole people. You don't need her. You choose her. And she doesn't need you. She chooses you. Partnership of equals. Not 2 incomplete halves trying to make a whole. This is what Stoic relationships look like. Built on virtue, not validation. Built on respect, not neediness. Built on choice, not desperation. The transformation is complete. You're not the chaser anymore. You're the chooser. You're not the man hoping to be picked. You're the man doing the picking. And women feel this shift. It's undeniable. You're not learning tricks. You're becoming the man she can't resist. Not because you're manipulating her, but because you've become genuinely excellent, genuinely centered, genuinely outcome independent. This is real attraction. This is Stoic attraction. Here's the truth. This isn't easy. Stoicism is practice, not perfection. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, and he still struggled with these principles daily. That's why he wrote Meditations. It was his private journal to remind himself of these truths. You're not going to master this overnight, but starting today you can practice one principle, just one. Maybe it's outcome independence. Maybe it's focusing on your purpose. Maybe it's handling the next rejection with indifference. Pick one thing and practice it. In 30 days of genuine practice, your entire reality will change. Not because women suddenly find you more attractive, but because you'll become actually more attractive. You'll carry yourself differently, you'll speak differently, you'll respond to situations differently, and women will notice. Trust me, they'll notice. Remember what we covered. Emotional mastery through the dichotomy of control, indifference to outcome, self-excellence as your primary focus, rejection as fuel instead of failure. These aren't tricks. This is character development. This is becoming a man of value. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now. Which law will you master first? Outcome independence, self-excellence, emotional control, or rejection resilience? Let me know, because I read every comment and I want to see your progress. If this resonated with you, if this changed how you think about attraction, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Next week, I'm revealing the Stoic morning routine that amplifies everything we talked about today by 10 times. You don't want to miss that. Here's what I want you to remember. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. You're just mastering your own mind. If he could do it while managing Rome, you can do it while managing your life. You've got this. The principles are simple. The practice takes dedication, but the results are life-changing. Stop chasing, start becoming. She'll find you. The excellent man is never alone for long. He's too valuable, too rare, too magnetic. Become that man. The ancient Stoics showed you how. Now it's your turn to walk the path. Stop chasing, start becoming. She'll find you.